Home. My feet scrape across Navajo sandstone in southern Utah. The only things straight in this place are the contrail of a jet above me and the scratches left by greasewood on my thigh. Winding red lines on the rock look like tidal marks. I'm a child of the ocean. I see crashing waves in a desert landscape. With bends in our imaginations, we find home in far-off places. Energy illiteracy. Dear daughter, yesterday I received your permanent fund dividend, $1,250 this year. I've deposited it in your personal account. I'm sure you'll need it as the year unwinds. Love, Dad. In Alaska, around 689,000 barrels of oil are extracted from the ground each day, and the state makes over $8 billion on petroleum exports annually. As compensation for the resources extracted from our lands, every resident, regardless of age, is given a permanent fund dividend, or PFD. This can range from $1,000 to $3,500. At age 1, I received my first check. Alaskan residents have become dependent on this money, and despite increasing evidence that oil removal and consumption destroy the environment, we remain relatively complacent in opposing drilling in our pristine lands. The oil companies buy our silence. When I meet Randy Udall in Carbondale, Colorado, he breaks this silence for me. As a self-proclaimed energy agitator, he reiterates America's dependency on oil and other fossil fuels, stating that every American consumes their body weight in petroleum each day. We're the oil tribe, he announces. Oil's everywhere, it's even in our food. Randy says that global oil production is peaking, but no one's talking about it honestly in the US. However, Randy aims to be as frank as possible. This notion that we have to get off of oil is both accurate, inevitable, and is going to be really difficult. And petroleum isn't our only challenge. Oil only makes up 2% of America's electricity production. As a society, we also depend largely on coal and natural gas. Throughout decades, these fossil fuels have been poisoning our planet, emitting tons of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the Earth's atmosphere. Now the world faces sea level rises, species die-off, warming temperatures, and increasingly severe weather patterns. Renewable energy, clean energy, is the route in which most solution-oriented folks have embarked in order to sever our fossil fuel dependency. Solar, geothermal, and wind are today's energy buzzwords. In the US, consumers pay 8 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity derived from fossil fuels. In Germany, residents take out loans from the bank and put solar on their roofs, and utility companies pay them 50 cents per kilowatt hour for self-produced electricity. My mom wants panels on her house in Alaska, but has no incentives from utility companies. Instead, she plans on paying for the installation with her PFD and $90,000 of settlement money from the Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989, payment for the damage done to her livelihood as a commercial fisherwoman during the time of the spill. Dirty money for a clean cause. A larger scale switch to renewables is also occurring as utility companies start to develop huge solar projects on public lands in the American West. The thousands of megawatts of power they will produce and the ease in which they can be implemented are thrilling prospects. The panels are impressive in their immense size and the way they move in seamless unison with the sun's arc. Their presence is that of confident warriors, bound to be halting petroleum production with every ray of light they convert. In the beginning of my involvement in the clean energy movement, any form of renewable energy seemed like a blessing in my desperate search for a solution to America's dangerous addiction to fossil fuels. But as renewables transformed from concept to reality, it became apparent that things weren't so black and white. When attending the Sierra Club Desert Committee Conference in Southern California, I learned about the dark side of solar. Many of the environmentalists there hiss with disgust over the thought of any massive renewable energy project tainting their desert home. The bulldozing and fences required to make large-scale solar possible displace tortoise and destroy ancient cultural sites. Most club members fight for decentralized power, like rooftop photovoltaics. Its advantages include installation on pre-developed sites and putting consumers in control of their own power production. But even these projects are questionable. Many fear that there's easy potential for photovoltaics to have an environmental and social impact as equally detrimental as non-renewables. Numerous panels contain hazardous materials like arsenic, cadmium, and polysilicon, and are produced for low wages in distant countries like China. Despite the advantages of solar, there are significant negative impacts that can result if producers don't use extreme caution. Randy tells me that energy is an IQ test that Americans fail. I hope that in adopting renewable energy, we smarten up. As of now, we might have to pick the best of nothing great. Like my mother back in Alaska, who's still going through with the solar installation on her house. But let's settle for more than the destructive culture of our energy history. We're at a pivotal point in the evolution of our power production, a time to raise our voices and make sure we do renewable energy right the first time.